You are currently listening to The Strange and the Weird with your host, Stefanos Saganakis. Tonight, my guest host is going to be Kevin Serrano.
Hello, everyone.
We'll be talking about monsters and mythology. The strange fact of the day. Did you know that dead people could actually get goosebumps?
I did not, but that makes sense. I can give you the scientific reasoning behind it. Oh, my mic wasn't on. Okay.
Yeah, no, your mic wasn't on.
Thanks a lot.
I was doing the intro.
Oh.
It's sort of like an intro thing, and then we sort of get into the show. That's why I have the X-Files playing in the background.
So dead people can get goosebumps.
Apparently, I read it on the Weird Facts website.
I can.
I don't know why. Let me
I can tell you why.
Why? Tell me.
Well, you know how rigor mortis works?
Yeah.
It's basically when you die, your body starts or stops producing a certain molecule that you use for energy, which is called ATP.
That makes sense.
In muscle contractions, ATP is what effectively unbinds the muscle hooks from each other, you could say. So when you die, your muscles can contract, but they can no longer release. So dead people can get goosebumps because the little muscles in each hair follicle, which is what causes goosebumps, can contract but not release.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow.
That was a very good layover between what I know about and what your fact was.
It was a very random layover, but that's really good.
Yeah.
Hey guys, as I said, I'm Stefanos. I apologize for the people who are playing the music in the background. They've done it for 3 weeks now. I know. I tried to tell them to lower it down a bit. They haven't, obviously.
We really need to close up that hole in the window. I feel like we would be a lot more soundproof that way.
Yeah, but I mean, what is Tom thinking keeping that open? I have no idea.
I think it's just always been like that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is like, I don't know why anyone would keep that little portion of the window open.
You got me. On Monday nights when I'm doing our show, The Last Laugh, we have the same problem. They're practicing and stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot Kevin's on the show too.
Yeah, well, on a different show.
Well, on a different show. He's actually on the radio. I forgot about that completely. Actually,
yeah, I'm a co-host.
Did you guys change your show time?
We are on Mondays at 8. It changed a couple of times due to various
you guys
scheduling
did Wednesday
issues.
Before, right?
First we were doing Friday, and then we moved to Monday. And then we said, we're going to go back to Friday. And then we were like, just kidding, staying on Monday. So that's what ended up happening in the end.
Oh, that's a lot of changes right there.
Yep, there were a lot of changes.
It's almost as many changes as the Tabletop Club had to go through. Except Tabletop Club just doesn't have people going to it now. So I'm really
unfortunately.
Yeah, we're actually not having a meeting this... Jesus Christ, they are loud. They are really...
From what I understand, a couple of listeners were asked whether it bothered them, and I guess they didn't really hear it as well as we can hear it.
Oh, they can't.
So they might be able to hear it, but it probably doesn't affect them as much as you'd think.
All right, so it's mainly that I could hear it because...
Granted, if it does bother anyone, they can always call in.
386-822-8770. Tell us if these people are being absolutely rude and you cannot hear us over them, which hopefully you can hear us more than you can hear them, and they're not that bad.
Yeah. The problem is that there isn't a separate... Night lights is kind of separate from the radio booth, so they can reserve night lights even though we're in the radio. It's like we don't reserve night lights for this time.
I wish we could.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Well, I mean, we can reserve night lights, but that's just a big move. All right.
Yeah, there'll be some kind of coming together and understanding at some point, I'm sure.
I doubt it.
Probably filling in that window.
Please, Tom, if you're listening, fill in this window right now.
Or maybe even soundproofing the booth somehow. I feel like there's money in our budget for that.
We got $10,000 worth of stuff.
Something like that.
So, and from what I hear, we got $10,000 for the radio show, and from what I know...
For the radio program in general.
We've only used $5,000 so far, so...
Soundproofing the booth would definitely be a plus.
Yeah, definitely. I would love that.
So
guys, Strange and the Weird, monsters and stuff, right? Silencing the booth. I would love to do that, though. So yeah, Kevin's one of my friends. I've known him for all my life. In other words, about a year.
About a year. 3 months or so.
Yes. Not 3 months. I know you last year, didn't I?
Right. So about I guess if you consider the school year, then
I consider it a school year. I mean, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I've known him a little bit. He's part of the Tabletop Club, so we know a lot about monsters when we're playing Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. Or rather, Pathfinder. We played a specific version. So that's what we'll be talking about today, and I think what we should go on first thing is talking about our favorite monsters.
Our favorite monsters. Okay.
Yeah, we'll sort of take like a turn-based thing. I'll say like, why is this monster my favorite, and what experiences, obviously, with popular culture have I had with this monster. And let's keep away from ghosts and specters and stuff, because that's sort of like a different topic, you know what I'm saying?
All right, fair enough.
I
wouldn't really consider that monsters.
Exactly my point. Yeah. So that's what I do for other shows. I'm gonna do a ghost show in probably a week or two. So, so let's try to stick away from that and go for like strictly like Medusa, Titans, stuff like that.
Specific creatures.
Exactly.
Right. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Right.
One of my favorite creatures. This is more contemporary literature or video games and stuff. Are the harpies. I love harpies.
Would you? I don't mean. Is it okay if I ask you something?
Yeah.
When you say contemporary, I'm not really sure, because they originate in Greek culture, don't they? The harpies.
Harpies do originate in Greek culture.
You should know.
I know, I'm Greek. Well, at least I believe they originate Greek culture. I'm pretty sure they do. I'm like 95% sure they do. And when I'm talking about contemporary, I'm talking about how we use it, obviously, in Pathfinder and in video games. The Greek harpy, I'm not actually too curious on. I'm pretty sure they're based off it, and they're heavily influenced by it, but I'm not sure how much. I know in both of them, they're all female, and they need a human male to actually reproduce. Well, at least I'm pretty sure they both do. That's the funny part. Which is weird about monsters. Every like big monster that we know about, only females, and for some reason they need a human male to reproduce. I
would not want to be that guy. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah, freaking Medusa.
Let's steer away from that. Okay. All right, so back to harpies.
All right, back to harpies. So one of my friends and I, Aaron, we play Dungeons and Dragons often, like we do. Except we play like on a daily basis whenever we see each other. it goes crazy. We go from 8 to 12 almost every day type thing. It's fun.
At night.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, of course.
Wow.
We're gonna do it in the afternoon. Hell no.
I thought you meant in the morning. I was like, wow, that is dedication right there.
No, at night, and then we go to 12 in the morning. So what happens is, he goes, you know what? I want a party member, because I'm doing the game. He goes, I go, what do you want? He goes, I want a harpy that plays the harp. But ever since then, I sort of loved harpies.
A harpy that plays the harp.
Exactly. Ever since then, I really enjoyed harpies more. Number one, they are a flying and agile creature. So when you use them in a video game or a game of Dungeons and Dragons, they're such a pain for the party to actually fight, because they'll be in the air and you'd be like, wait, we can't get this guy down. I only have a sword. What am I gonna do? You know, and you're in a giant open valley or something, and you're screwed. You know. And not only that, they have a lot of interesting biological facts. When you think about it, how can a human sort of fly? And so just when you think about it, it's like, that'd be really cool to think about the bone structure. When you sort of put a bird's bone structure to human, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
The birds have a very porous bone structure with holes and stuff, and that's how a lot of people actually theorize that dragons existed, because they had a similar bone structure and a CO2 bladder sort of thing. You know what I'm saying?
This was a conversation I actually had with consequently. This was a conversation I had with one of my friends the other day. He asked me, do you think humans would be more efficient if they had nucleated red blood cells? So what that means is our red blood cells don't have any like internal organelles, because they're maximized to store hemoglobin and iron, oxygen, so that they can, and oxygen, so that they can, move things to our lungs. And that's why we have bone marrow, because the cells themselves don't reproduce. We need to continually, we need to continually make them. Birds, however, have nucleated red blood cells, so they do have those internal organs, and they do reproduce themselves. And what that allows is for them to have hollow bones, which means they're, much lighter than they should be. So I kind of like the idea of, that being a way for a harpy to kind of fit into science, right?
Yeah.
Would that, it would have those kinds of blood cells rather, so that it could still maintain those hollow bones. I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, That's what I'm doing. That's what I like to do on the Strange and Weird. I like to find the realm of possibility where if this existed, how could we make it exist? You know. Besides the fact that I highly doubt humans will be growing feathers anytime soon. I
wouldn't say that's our next evolutionary step. No.
Our next evolutionary step is called nuclear war and evolution.
Nuclear war and the rise of the roach people. Midnight double feature. Ooh.
I'm pretty sure that would be classified under something we don't want to classify. Roach people. That's another monster that needs males.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. Oh, my. All right. Well, anyway. So, what about harpies?
So, I mean, that's how I like them. They're also used when you look into them in a little bit more contemporary area. They actually make friends with travelers that go around, and they're not a really aggressive monster. Like, you find a lot of monsters are aggressive. For example, lamai or medusas, as we might know them. They're pretty aggressive when they see a human being.
Or gorgons, another name for those kinds of creatures.
Well, gorgons are a specific 13 creatures type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, like the group of.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, I see.
For example, Medusa is a lamai. We call her Medusa because she has snake head.
Well, her name was Medusa.
Yeah, that's true. But like we call that type of the Medusa is a type of lamai in popular culture now, at least.
Right.
Back then, that might have been the only form of a snake human things. But I don't know, to tell you the truth. But I'm sorry, I just lost my track. Yeah, but a harpy isn't automatically hateful towards human beings, and I like that. That's really cool, and actually doesn't try. Actually has like its own village, its own hierarchical structure, and doesn't actually try to kidnap and stuff. They actually, well, sometimes they do if they're in heat apparently, but they're more peaceful than a lot of the other ones, and that's why I like them a lot. What about you?
I don't know. Are we moving on from harpies?
No. Yeah, if you want to say something else about harpies, go on.
Not in particular. I'm not sure if you ever read the Chronicles of Narnia by
Yeah, I did.
What's his face? Oh gosh.
That guy with the face with the hair.
Yeah.
And
anyway, they're a great series of books. I remember one part, and I'm pretty sure this was from the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't think it's from something else. That there was a man, who lived on an island. I think it was in the book. Oh gosh, I think it was like the 4th or 5th book, the one where they're on the boat and they travel between the different islands and things like that. And there was a guy who lived on this island, and he like had this kind of Roman column-esque area outdoors.
All right.
And enclosed in all of these different columns was like this big banquet hall, like open-air banquet hall. And there was all this food, but he could never eat it because there were harpies surrounding him, and they would always come and like peck at him. Oh. Whenever he tried to eat anything.
What's the Chronicles of Narnia?
I don't know.
Really
it just
familiar,
sounds so familiar, and I
know.
thought it was Chronicles of Narnia.
It sounds familiar, but I don't know if it's Chronicles of Narnia or not, to tell you the truth.
I can do some research into it at some point, but
eventually, when I'm not playing Pokemon Yellow.
Yeah, that pretty much consumes your life right now.
That and Dr. Bischoff's class.
Dr. Bischoff's class.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of my favorite monsters. I'm gonna go kind of cliche here and say the dragon.
We should have saved that for the grand finale, but whatever you want.
You just said
whatever
to
you
go
want.
With,
no, go ahead.
We can talk about dragons later if you want.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I really like dragons. I think they're super cool. I especially like what a lot of more modern authors and developers and stuff have done with them. Because in medieval history, the kind of idea of a dragon, it's like this big beast, and I don't know if I'd necessarily say that they're intelligent, but they are
more so
very devastating.
I mean, they know the concept of wealth and they gather stuff.
Right. So like the old style dragon, So or at least they're attracted to gold for whatever reason, shiny things. But I really like where some of the more modern writers and people have done with it. I especially think of things like the Elder Scrolls games, most recently Skyrim, because they so heavily involve dragons, where it's kind of like people started giving dragons like a kind of racial identity, as opposed to just a monster. Giving them a language, developing a whole language for them, which I think is something that Bethesda, the developer of the Elder Scrolls games, did wonderfully. Because if you look at some of the letters that they do for their dragon words, they all look like they were etched out by claws, and I just think that's that's a really cool detail. And they developed like a lot of words. So every time you see like the scratch marks in the wall, and you think, oh, it's just a bunch of random symbols, it actually is like a story or something.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that until recently.
I mean, I've never played Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one person who will not randomly yell Fushroda at someone that likes this type of things. But what I like about dragons is the variety of dragons you'll get. For example, you have the Chinese dragon.
Oh yeah,
which is so cool. I often incorporate the Chinese dragons into my games. For example, two of my friends were fighting. Not two of my friends. Two of my friends. The other ones ran away. Two of my friends were fighting a blue Chinese dragon. Basically, I gave them in the desert, and that was fun because they started riding him into the ruins, and there was like a sandstone ruin, and the sandstone just like collapsed on them.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh crap, that's a spoiler. Actually, that's in your game.
Oh well. Okay. Well, you're gonna have to change that a little bit.
I'll change that up a bit.
I think of I like the different we're going along that same vein. I like the idea of the Asian dragon being kind of, if you see how it relates in their culture, it's very different than European dragons. It's
the Asian culture, it's more revered.
Yeah, they tend to be very wise, and like if you find a dragon, it tends to be that you're going to like talk to it, and it's going to reveal some sort of
wisdom,
grand truth to you, right? Yeah. Whereas in European culture, the dragons are kind of like just these giant monsters that are going to kill you and burn all of your serfdom, and you want to have some night guy slay it, right? Yeah. So it's two very different aspects, I think, of a creature that are creatures that are pretty similar.
That's a really cool thing. I mean, when the first thing I knew about dragons was because I'm Greek Orthodox, St. George the Dragon Slayer. That was my patron church I went to. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, why would you slay dragons?
Why don't you want to be friends with the dragon?
Yeah, be friends with the dragon and be hey man, hey. You breathe fire.
That's cool.
High five. Let's live in peace.
You breathe fire. I build fires. We have
so much in common. Right? Yeah. So like, that's why one of the first things I knew about dragons, and I sort of like exited out of my mind because I'm like, no, that's stupid. And then I'm like, that's just stupid. No, I'm gonna go with the, and that's when I started looking more at the Asian model of dragons. After I looked at the medieval one, sort of like the Aragon-esque type, where they actually had like medieval people respecting dragons, which I didn't care about Aragon after the third book. I really just stopped.
I never actually got to read them. And
they're okay. The first one was great. The second one was good. The third one was just like, it's good, but it's the same stuff over and over. Type of feel. I guess it's like playing Pokemon, Emerald, and then Sapphire and Ruby all at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
That's, yeah, I can see your point.
But I think what was I saying? I'm sorry. Yeah.
You're talking about
dragons.
Befriending dragons as opposed to fighting.
Yeah, I mean,
which I think maybe kind of stems from the fact that, at least in European culture, dragons tend to be trying to kill you. It's not like you really have the opportunity to say, "Hey, dragon."
I don't think that's per se the dragon's fault either. I think it's the human's fault. Maybe. I definitely think that's the human's fault because human beings are stupid creatures. Let's not lie.
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. We're stupid creatures. We take everything that's good for us and we screw it up. For example, our environment.
Tends to be the case, yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't doubt that some king of, let's say, Britain or Kingsdom in old France or something, you know what I'm saying? We're like, oh, you know what? There's a dragon. He's talking to me, trying to talk to me, give me wisdom. Let's kill him. Let's kill him. Take all his gold. I mean, I could definitely see human beings doing something stupid like that. While in the Asian culture, they're like, these things are almost of a deity structure, and they should be respected and revered as such, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I like that.
Definitely. I think that the idea of whether or not dragons existed is kind of an interesting one. Here's the thing, right? Well, in the realm of science, okay, an Asian dragon, they don't even have wings. Sometimes they do.
They have like really
they tend to just kind of
like
float around. So I see that as kind of difficult. But it's interesting to me that there's this kind of like common myth of dragons throughout the world, and it's a little bit intriguing.
They all came around the same time.
Yeah, it's a little bit intriguing. So it's like, were these things just things that came up in stories? Because I often think like, if someone 100,000 years from now found something like a comic book of Superman, and that was like, just something that they found, would they know that it wasn't real? Like, if there wasn't any kind of information saying, obviously, this is just a story about it, would they think that these people actually once roamed the earth that, had superpowered abilities? So I wonder sometimes if things like dragons, were they simply myths or stories that people created, or were they based on a real thing, or were they in fact real? I don't know.
Just a quick thing.
Sure.
I just got a message in from my father, actually, saying that Jason and the Argonauts is the movie you're thinking about, with a guy going for the feast.
It was Jason and the Argonauts.
That's why.
Thank you to your dad. I don't know why I thought it was Chronicles of Narnia.
Well, I mean, I guess they're in a way similar.
I remember reading that, and then also seeing the movie.
The movie was so
reading
corny.
the story,
I
and then
loved
seeing
it.
the movie Jason and the Argonauts. Yeah, with the do you remember the ship's
skeletons?
heading that turned into oh gosh, who was it? Hera.
I don't remember that.
It was there was this thing on the ship that was like a statue of Hera, because Hera was Jason's patron. Like, she had chosen him as her champion.
Matron, but
Of course, matron. And it like really eerily spoke to him. It was really creepy, because just the way they did it in the movie was super awkward and really creepy. But thank you to Steph's dad for that. I appreciate it.
yeah. So that's what the that was Jason the Argonauts. That was my favorite corny movie ever. most favorite corny movie ever. But going back to dragons.
Sure.
What I really, like you said, they all came around at the same time, and back then they didn't have the internet.
Yeah,
I don't
right?
think they did, at least.
Yeah.
And we found evidence of large serpentine-like creatures in Native American culture. We found them in Greek culture. We have and this is also in Greek culture. You have the Hydra and the Scylla, which are very similar to what a dragon would be. And then we actually have St. George the Dragon Slayer, who's
and that was much more recent.
Yeah,
St. George was what, 13th
something
century,
like that.
12th century? I don't remember.
And not only that, we have ancient Chinese myths, ancient European myths. There are myths all around the world that have dragons, and they all stem from a time where they could not communicate with each other.
Yeah,
which
is what's super interesting about
exactly. And not only then, let's think about this a little bit biologically here. It's not completely impossible for it to happen, but of course humans exaggerate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's definitely a point that I wanted to touch on, was that maybe these things didn't actually exist, but what if there were,
as we're told?
Yeah, what if there were some kind of large reptilian creatures, maybe even just big snakes that people kind of took and contorted in such a way through their stories and artwork that they became, larger than life kinds of monsters. They might have just been like, the size of a person, or just kind of big. But
not even that. It might have been like there was a sort of evolutionary step between bird and reptile at the point that went extinct, and we don't even know it. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe, yeah.
And it could have been. I'm not saying there's like the actual dragons that we know about them today. I'm saying the possibility exists that similar creatures. There are a lot of modern day creatures that are teeny tiny. You can put them in your palm, but look exactly like a dragon. You know what I'm saying?
In what way? What do you mean?
There's this blue lizard creature. Hold on, let me see what this is. Blue lizard dragon creature.
Blue
thing.
lizard dragon creature thing. Good luck, Google.
Good luck.
Images.
Yep, this one. This guy.
Oh, for real?
This guy. I guess I'll post a picture of him later on the Strange and the Weird.
Yeah, we're gonna have to show that to the listeners. That is very interesting.
It's a very beautiful creature.
It is. It's a what is it exactly?
I have no bloody idea.
It's kind of reptilian,
it's
but it also kind of has
blue lizard dragon creature thing,
things.
according to Google.
Man.
The blue Danube.
Is it this maybe? You want to click that? Glaucus atlanticus.
Yep, there we go.
Atlanticus.
That's it.
It is. Let's see.
It's called
Species
the blue
of small-
angel.
Oh, it's
blue
a sea slug. It's not a reptile at all.
But that's interesting.
That is,
know that.
yeah. So it looks like a dragon, but really it
a
has
slug.
nothing to do with dragons.
But
It's very interesting.
what I'm saying here is the basic body structure is
Yeah.
of dragons is still found inside nature. I mean, I wouldn't find it awkward if someone, for example, saw one of these things back in the day and said, "This looks like a mythical creature." Because look how beautiful that thing looks, man. I wouldn't find it. I wouldn't doubt that someone would think that maybe.
Why don't you go ahead and post that on the page now if any of the listeners want to see it?
Yeah, I mean,
and they're also at a computer.
All right. Well, then you're gonna have to carry the story, but because it's annoying.
Sure, but yeah, you were. I'm sorry, what you were talking about. Oh, so like, they kind of see this thing and extrapolate. What if there were other things that looked like this?
Exactly.
Especially bigger.
They called it the Blue Angel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Blue Angel. It's a sea slug.
It was Glaucus atlanticus. So I suppose it lived in the Atlantic.
It's still alive today.
Yeah, right.
They obviously have a picture
obviously,
of it.
they have pictures of people holding them. They're high definition, so I can imagine those were taken recently. They're not exactly cave drawings.
1300. Draw me like one of your
1300. Oh my. Well, Titanic jokes aside.
No, but when you think about it like that, if the structure's still there, even in a slug, I wouldn't doubt that there are actually creatures out there that can look. Oh, I was doing this as a status, not as a photo. Darn it. That can look a lot like a dragon, or possibly were even bigger than that, and were more so along the lines of able to actually be sort of more tangible, because this is a sea slug. What if there was a reptilian creature that evolved from it, or vice versa? I just simply went extinct, because there are animals that go extinct within a few hundred years because of their genetics.
Something that was just mistaken for reptilian.
Exactly.
Not necessarily. I don't think reptiles come from slugs.
Well, no, I'm saying the slugs are a basic form of life, and from everything else we evolved from the sea. So,
Okay, fair enough. Anyway, so are we done with dragons? I don't know.
I think we covered a lot with dragons because, there's a lot to do with dragons.
Yeah, dragons. There's a lot to talk about. Very interesting subjects.
If anyone wants to recommend a creature they like a lot, whether it be anything from Medusa to Bigfoot to the Loch Ness Monster, something like that, feel free to call us in at 386-822-8770. We'll gladly take your call, and we'll put you on the air and see and talk about the monster you want us to talk about.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Or creature. I mean, some of them really do have a lot of intelligence, especially if you're talking about the dragons. They impart a great wisdom on you, or when you look at other creatures. For example, the Medusa has a sentience around it that says, I could actually go to people and say, "Hey, you're frozen," and kill them. And she was a human being at first, but you know what I'm saying?
Where she chose.
Yeah.
So you can feel free to do another one, unless you want me to do another one. But
we're getting close to the music break time, actually. So how about I put on the music break, and then I'm going to finally post this picture of this beautiful creature.
Okay, sounds like fun.
And that'll be it. We'll be back soon, guys. Enjoy Jonathan Colton. All right, that was The Future Soon by Jonathan Colton. If you guys know, we play him a lot on this radio station. He's a very fun artist. I enjoy him greatly. So once again, I posted the picture of the Blue Angel slug on www.facebook.com/thestrangeandweird.
www.facebook.com, just in case you haven't heard of it.
Facebook is a very new website.
I actually thought it was called The Facebook.
The Facebook?
Yeah.
I first called it, I thought it was the Spacebook.
I would frequent that website, the Spacebook. That sounds like a cool thing.
It's actually spacebook.com.
Spacebook.com. So while you're doing that, back on the topic that we have here tonight.
There is. You can find your soulmate on spacebook.com.
Wow, really?
Yep, soulmates right here.
You are not kidding. It's a dating website. Not at all what I thought it was going to be. I was hoping it would be like a cool social networking for like people who love space. That would be neat. Anyway, What is our next creature here, Steph?
All right. We did dragons. We did harpies. I think another popular one, which there's one person screaming on Skype for me to say because she won't call in. She's shy. So shout out to Kelly Petrie from Rollins College. I'm gonna make sure you're a little bit embarrassed now because she didn't call in. Thank you very much for suggesting the Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster is one of my favorite creatures. The thing is, there's actually a lot more than just the Loch Ness Monster. There's also Champ in Lake Champlain. Which let's talk about the biological possibility of this. This is extremely possible.
I think this is probably one of the more realistic of mythological creatures. Definitely, because we definitely know that animals like this existed. Well, I mean, nothing's for sure, but we're pretty certain we have skeletons that kind of look like that. So plesiosaurs, were aquatic, essentially aquatic apatosauruses. They had long necks and they swam through the water.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it frankly, there's actually a lot of beneficial evolutionary traits that it has. For example, the sea had a lot of beneficial life for it to eat. There are caverns it could go and hide, do whatever it wants, and a long neck would provide it the area for it to swipe at its prey.
Also, to breathe.
And breathe,
which is kind of important, without having to completely surface.
Exactly, which comes with the danger of meeting human beings surfacing.
True. So now the problems, of course, that we have facing today is that dinosaurs are extinct, but people have believed in Nessie and other creatures like this for a really long time. So it makes you wonder, what is the possibility that something survived? Obviously not the same one.
Oh god, no
for all this time, but an isolated case I think would be very interesting.
When you think about it, when I think about it, you have the ancient. I don't even. We haven't even explored our oceans. Let's be realistic. We know absolutely nothing about our oceans. Forget that. We don't know anything about Lake Champlain or the bottom of Loch Ness.
They're pretty big.
They are huge.
And
they have so many.
In fairness, yeah, they went out with a lot of boats and completely sonared the heck out of Loch Ness.
But to do that 24/7, that's the only way you're ever going to get Nessie. If you know what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I don't think they were looking so much to figure out where Nessie was as to disprove the fact that Nessie existed. So it's probably not a Nessie in Loch Ness, but the idea that something like that could exist.
Yeah, but I think about it like this: Loch Ness also has a lot of caves.
Fair.
And these cave systems also have air in them. They're not just random little pockets of water that are completely full. And not only that, to be realistic, not everyone's on the water 24/7, and it's such a big place that it's highly unlikely that there'll be someone watching every single part of the lake, unless you have Google Maps on it 24/7 and the satellite has a live video camera.
Unless you drop a Google car in there, obviously you couldn't find any.
I mean, I personally believe that Nessie is a real creature because it has biological evidence to it, including with fossils. And let's be realistic, the coelacanth was said to be extinct 16 million years ago for dinosaurs. It's back. What
is a coelacanth? I'm not sure that I've ever...
So, they actually have a Pokemon. So
is that the thing that kind of looks like a bug?
No, this is a fish.
Oh, relicanth, the rocky fish thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
This was said to be extinct 16 million years ago.
Okay.
And they recently found the coelacanths in Africa about 1950s-ish. And now they found hundreds of them. So let's be realistic. If we could have gone down there, we have been able to go down there in those depths the coelacanth have been living in for a long time. And we found the coelacanths 16 million years after they died. What is the chances of us finding a predatory animal that is probably much less in number and probably a lot more elusive of human beings? I find it to be a lot less of a chance, especially in the fact that it could go from Loch Ness to the sea because of all those caves.
I'm thinking of the idea. I would really like to see all of these people in the world who believe in Nessie, which is probably a lot.
Or champs.
Just get scuba certified and go out into Loch Ness and just cover all of it.
I would love
that's definitely not impossible.
I mean, if you want to get every single one at the same time, that's a little hard. But I mean, that's how you have to do it.
That would
you
be
have
way
to go
more
out
than
into
you'd
the field.
need.
Yeah.
But I feel like, that's a possibility if people really wanted to know for sure. Just get a bunch of people to visually scan.
And even then, think about it. As I said, there are all the caves. Human beings will die in the caves. That's the one problem I've had with that. You could scour the entire lake, and then you have the caves. What do you do with the caves? Can you send in drones? If you send in people, are they going to die? I just find out that there is a I personally find there's a biological past to it, and I could find that it has a large possibility of being a biological present as well.
Sure.
That's what I think personally. I mean, I would love to go scuba diving though, but the only problem is your scuba class there's something to cost extra money.
Yeah.
How much extra is
problem
that
with that? Right now.
Yeah, right now.
If we can't get funding from the school, it's going to be about $300.
Nope.
And even though I am basically the second-hand person, I think I could say I've been helping Danny a lot. He does most of it still, but I've been helping him as much as I can. I might not be able to do it. If it means paying $300, I won't be able to do it. As a matter of fact.
Same. No, that's one reason I'm not doing it.
But it'll still be interesting, and it's going to be open to everyone. The tutorial itself won't be, but the scuba class through Stetson, or rather at Stetson through this dive shop, will be available to everyone or anyone who wants to participate in it. It's going to be taking place over a couple of weekends in the spring.
So now that we're sponsored by them, we should get the money. We should get the money. All right, but yeah, I mean, I would love to scuba dive. I have scuba dived minimally, sort of like being taught to scuba dive in the pool type thing. You know what I'm saying? I've snorkeled. I would love to go out to Lake Champlain or to Loch Ness and just go. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's some law against it, but I would love to do that.
Maybe just check it out.
Think about how cool that is. You're going into a place where you are you have a good possibility of dying if you're 100%, if you're right or if you're wrong, depending on which side of the spectrum you're on. You have a decent possibility of dying from said monster, or if you go into the caves, from the caves, because you will get lost.
That would be bad. So moving on.
Moving on from Loch Ness, beautiful creature. It's Champy, pretty cool too. What about you?
Something else. I think another interesting kind of semi-realistic creature is unicorn.
I know there's gonna be someone right now freaking out on the other side listening.
Like, yeah, unicorns. I think the interesting thing about the idea of unicorns for me is that, like, it's really just a horse, right? But it has
a horn.
It has a horn. So it's like, I'm not sure who came up with this idea. It's kind of cool, but, like, biologically speaking, I'm not 100% on it. Here's the thing, right? So there are several there have been cases of humans who were mutated and their hair just did not grow right, and they had kind of these protrusions on their head. Actually, I don't think it was their head or their hair rather. I think it was maybe
skulls.
Yeah, parts of their bones that formed incorrectly, and they had horns. So it's not like they were cool horns or anything, or horns. It wasn't like they were mythical or demons or anything. But these people did have horns, so. I feel like maybe, there is some kind of reasonable chance that at some point someone saw a horse that had a horn. Maybe not like,
maybe not
elegant and pointy and like twirly like we kind of imagine them today.
Humans over-exaggerate.
Yeah, exactly. Humans over-exaggerate. So, someone might have saw one of these things and been like, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe this is a different thing, but it wasn't.
Maybe there's also a theory that the unicorn stemmed from the rhinoceros.
So maybe, because the rhinoceros
is just a fat horse.
It's very similar to a horse, and it's in how it in its structure, I guess.
Sort of, yeah.
Just like a giraffe. Like, people don't really think about it. Giraffes are very much
similar
like horses, except they have really long necks.
The vertebrae are just 3 feet long. That's all.
No big deal. Whatever.
Not big deal. I actually like the song in the background, so I'm not that mad right now. So I hear that that's a possibility. Think about, like, for example, zombies came from the rabies. Think about it like that. The same way unicorns could have come from rhinoceroses. At this point, I believe that if someone were to find a biological past for it, it'd be in the rhinoceros, because it's like, oh, hey, look, this is something that looks like a horse. It has a horn. May as well paint it and say it's a horse. You know. Then when they say this doesn't look anything like it, I can say, oh, I have bad eyesight. You know.
Can we talk about zombies? Is that something for the show?
Definitely something for the show. Zombies.
This is something that
I will be doing a zombie special.
Okay, so we can just have kind of like a zombie precursor here.
Yeah, Carrie's gonna be on that if you want to join with Carrie.
Oh, maybe I will. I'm not sure. I'm not. Okay, so I am no expert. By far, I am no expert on zombies. There is a lot of, I realized the shift when I was about 13. And for a couple of years, there was this huge focus on vampires. Oh. And then all of a sudden, there was this gigantic shift to zombies. And I'm like, that was a really interesting cultural shift.
You missed the original zombie attack.
The original zombie attack?
Back when did Resident Evil first come out?
Oh, a long time ago. Yeah. Well, not, that long ago, but
no,
when we were
1.
kids. Yeah.
The place, I'm talking about the movies, though, the American movies.
Oh, I don't know.
They came out. I remember they were out with the PlayStation games.
So
I remember
probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
We'll say that. Yeah. The thing about that, it started then, and not only that, actually it started way before that with the voodoo zombies.
Right.
I am an expert on zombies.
Okay. Yeah. I wanted to hit on that. That zombies are actually a product of the voodoo religion. So
exactly.
There is some kind of basis there. I don't actually know how that works.
The necromancer in the first book, I forgot what it was, raised a woman from the dead and wanted to use her as a prostitute. So the guy is
obviously that's what you would. Yeah.
I went to a horror convention in New Orleans. Excuse you, I'm an expert. You're not.
Okay. No, go on, please. You have the stage.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that on my own show, giving me my own stage.
Of course.
So what happens is, the girl was a prostitute, and the man,
as zombies are wont to be,
and the man was, doing the thing with the zombie, and he goes to the woman who's the necromancer. It's like having sex with a corpse, and I'm just like, really?
I'm sorry. What was this? What was this story?
This is an old story. I don't remember the story.
Is it a joke story?
No, this is the actual story. Oh. He goes, this is like having sex with a corpse. I want my money back. Because obviously the woman wasn't reacting.
It's a zombie.
But he didn't know. Back then.
He didn't know.
Back then, the zombies were just, they freshly died. You raise them back, and they look just like they did when they were living. But now zombies have changed to a viral bacterial infection.
Yeah, it's not really
Parasite.
supernatural based anymore.
Some is, depending on where you're gonna go. For example, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. That would be.
You will be fighting a necromancer later on if you take the right path.
Yeah, but in modern day adaptations, pretty much everything that has to do with zombies is people trying to kind of tread that line of realism and saying,
yeah,
this could happen. Whether it's rabies or.
That's what I think is originally started the zombie thing, rabies.
Because it kind of drives people insane and makes them want to bite other people.
And then by biting other people, it spreads.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that the zombie myth started from rabies, or a very similar item, like how Dracula started with the other guy.
Vlad the Impaler.
Yeah, with the
Russian Tsar.
I forgot his disease.
Started
with D, didn't it?
I don't know. I wasn't aware that he had a specific disease.
He had a disease that destroyed his gums. And he looked like he had fangs.
Well, I do know that, though, that
he drank the blood of his enemies.
He drank the blood of his enemies, and what he did was he took sharpened pikes or poles and set them up, and then set his enemies on top of them in such a way that it pierced through their colon, to say the least, and. I don't want to say anything inappropriate on the air, anus. But well, yes, they're anus, and and just went all through them, and that's why he was called the Impaler, and that's why they call me Vlad. So that's an interesting story too.
Yeah, but for zombies, it started as a voodoo zombie, changed into the biological zombie, and now we even have so many different forms of zombie. We don't know what to classify as zombies. Not, for example, The Last of Us. the video game.
Yeah. Do you consider those things zombies?
They're a fungus that sort of have like more of a hive mind mentality, don't they? From what I understand, I've never played the game.
I'm sure you remember in honors reading about that fungus.
Oh
yeah.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah. The fungus, which the species name always escapes me, but
I'll look it up right now.
basically, when ants are foraging on the forest floor,
birds too now.
This is a real thing. Different creatures foraging on the forest floor among the leaves and stuff inhale these spores. The spore gets lodged in their sinus and starts to grow because, as fungus are wont to do, they tend to grow. And what happens is, it kind of just feeds on whatever's up in there, but eventually it hits the brain, and once it hits the brain, it starts to grow much dramatically faster, and kind of affects the behavior of these animals.
And what happens is, actually, this fungus has now been recorded to going to birds.
That's great. Yeah, that's just wonderful.
Flying species now. Great. Thanks a lot, nature. You're scary. This is the Ophicetus fungus. What happens is, I'll post a picture of this guy later, with probably, I don't know, a picture of an ant or a spider or something, because that's what they most commonly do it. This fungus, as Kevin said, they go into the body and they change the behavior, and the behavior makes it so that they go higher into the air or somewhere, so that they'll climb up a tree. They will die and release more spores, and then they'll have a radius. Sort of
those spores will rain down essentially from the tree.
And once the other ants sort of catch wind of this, and they go, "Hey, look, that guy looks like he's about to be infected. Let's move him." They kick him out.
Get him out. And ants are really smart. I've got to say, I'm in biostatistical methods right now, and we're doing an experiment involving ant lions, which is those little, the little things. Okay, you're in the class too, and we've been using ants in our experiment. Not everybody has, but we have, too. And it is so hard to catch those things. Oh yeah, it is not a fun experience. I've never spent so much time looking at ants so intently, and some of them are really vicious. They fight and one time we had a cup full of ants, and then we caught one, and we noticed that it was carrying a larva. Oh. And all of the other ants started trying to take the larva from that ant. They wanted to claim it as their own. It was really something interesting to watch. Yeah. But
so they actually, if you think about it, there's actually a lot of popular culture references to this exact fungus. Parasect and Paris.
Yes.
From
Parasect
Pokemon.
And Paris from Pokemon.
Paris, he has just two funguses on his back. And in the Pokemon world, they said that you can't take them off and harvest the mushrooms to eat. But then if you let the mushroom grow, it doesn't evolve. No. The mushroom freaking takes over the body, kills the Pokemon. Essentially. Biologically. And now you have a zombified Pokemon that has the amount of intelligence enough to understand its owner. But they say you can take off the giant mushroom of a Parasect, and it'll just turn back into a Paris. They say you can. Obviously, we can't do that in the video game, so I would never know.
It's super heart-wrenching to think about, you have, in a game like Pokemon. Now we're talking about Pokemon, folks. So in a game like Pokemon, I kind of imagine, in that universe, people are super close with their Pokemon, and you have something like a Paris, which is a little bug kind of creature with little mushrooms on his back. It's super adorable, It's like your friend that you grow up with. So cute. So it's, something that you grow up with, let's say. And then, and it's like your best friend, like having a dog all of your life. And then all of a sudden, one day, it's just gone. It's walking.
It's a walking zombie.
It's a walking zombie. And, it's no longer sentient or...
It is sentient to the degree that I can actually understand what your commands are, though. But I don't know the specifics of Parasect himself.
There was something that's why the eyes are blank in Parasect, because it no longer is really conscious.
Complete control.
It's the fungus is doing is operating the entire insect.
Which I loved Paris back in the day. Now I use Sandshrew instead of Paris, personally.
Because it's super scary.
Yeah, now that you think about it, there's a lot of... I'm actually going to be doing a Pokemon episode one day. Because there's so much... I want to be
a part of that. Most definitely.
You're more than allowed to come by.
I may be the biggest Pokemon nerd you know here. I don't know.
Except for me.
Oh, other than you.
But I'm gonna do a Pokemon episode where we have basically these theories or conspiracy theories against Pokemon. They're beautiful.
They're all really interesting.
But besides, let's get to the biology of it. Let's get to the biology of Pokemon.
I think we're getting a little bit too off topic here.
The zombie, there's complete possibility of a zombie outbreak with this fungus in real life if you give it enough time to evolve.
If this thing could affect humans.
I mean, it went from insects to birds. How long will it take to get from
that
birds?
That is a big leap.
How long will it take to get from birds to small mammals, and from small mammals to large animals, then to us?
I don't want to think about it, to be perfectly honest.
You don't want to, but this is something that maybe our grandchildren might have as a problem.
I mean, what can even be done about that, right? Like, can you just, like, hunt down specific creatures?
Insecticides. Not insecticides.
Fungicides?
Fungicides,
just maybe, like, why not get rid of all the fungus in the world? Who needs it, right? Lots of things.
Lots of things
That's the problem.
You're a biology major. You should know that.
No, I do.
No, fungus is very important. Some fungus is stupid.
A lot of fungus is stupid.
Zombies fungus is stupid, but yeah, I think that at the same time, this is a marvel. And if you think about it, if a fungus can do this, why can't a virus do this? There are viruses that you see that get into animals for the same thing. They go into for example, they go into ants, and they go on top of leaves, and then the sheep eat the leaves, and then the sheep get infected by this worm or virus, depending on what it is. Oftentimes, it's actually a worm that affects the insect in such a way that it gets eaten by the sheep or the cow or the dog or something like that. This is from my veterinary technician's course. I learned that. So,
well, la-di-da.
La-di-la-di-da. So I definitely see the zombie apocalypse as being a probable, but nowhere near now.
A scary, probable kind of thing. Yeah. Not necessarily zombies in the way that people think of them now, but like The Last of Us, the game that came out, which is super critically acclaimed game, is basically taking that theory of this fungus spreads to humans. Yeah. And now humans that get infected by this are just rampant and wild and want to kill other things and spread the fungus. So that's not exactly the most cheerful of subjects. No. I wish we would have saved Unicorn for after this to kind of cheer things up a little bit.
What else? We could probably do another Monster 2 if you want.
Sure.
I mean, I stay here.
Oh, it's 10 o'clock, I see.
I stay here till no one's after me. I have all Wednesday by myself here, basically. I actually 2 weeks ago I did all right, I'm here at 6 o'clock. I'm going to record for 3 hours random, which I never posted on YouTube yet. I will try to post it on YouTube. It's random snippets of the Legend of Dragons video games and stuff like that.
Cool. But I have a little bit of time, so let's go over one more.
All right. What other one can we think of off the top of our head?
Man, I'm surprised I'm having so much trouble.
Yeah.
How about something like a... Nah, that's boring.
Nah, that's boring.
Yeah, whatever I think of is pretty much boring. Interlude music would be nice.
All right, how about someone call in?
Please, we're begging you. We need an idea.
I know there are 5 people listening in right now, if not more. Call in 386-822-8770. We want to know what your favorite monster is that we haven't mentioned yet, or we have reference to, and we'll talk about that. I mean, there are a lot of cool monsters out there. We gave you guys 4. You guys give us 1. Let's see how this works out. And I know there are 2 people on Skype that should be calling me right now.
Give them a little bit of time.
A little bit of passive aggressiveness right there.
A little bit.
I'm just going to be subliminal with that, Tori and Kelly.
That was super subtle there.
I'm pretty sure
I didn't even notice it myself.
I'm pretty sure they're not going to call it out.
I'm surprised I'm having so much trouble. I mean, like, I can think of different monsters.
Here we go. I have one.
Sure.
The Phoenix.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, the Phoenix.
Moltres.
So I feel like the Phoenix is super mythological based, right? Like, obviously, that is not a biological reality.
There was apparently there is a bird that flew so fast that it did burn itself up.
Wow.
But it's definitely not a firebird.
Did it just like drop?
I'll look it up now.
Reach that speed? Because I don't feel like a bird could reach that speed flying, horizontally. But I kind of think of some kind of ridiculous, like, You know how peregrine falcons kind of fly way up and then just drop to their prey.
I'm getting a lot of phoenixes, but there actually was a bird that did that. From what I know, that's Ben told me we should ask him one day. If Ben was on last week, if you guys remember, but there's definitely a correlation between. Hold on. I'm sorry, we're just talking about phoenixes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens with a phoenix is, if you guys know, it's a firebird. You see it in Harry Potter, but in Harry Potter it doesn't shoot flames. At least in the movies it doesn't. I don't know about the books, but it shoots flames, basically mole trace. But when it dies, it combusts. I love random combustions. That's like my favorite thing in the world. Things randomly combusting. And then it literally has...
Counseling center, by the way, is open at all hours of the day if you need to call
it. I go once every Monday.
I go on Thursdays.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing you one time going.
They can talk about your combustion, your love for combustion. Perhaps.
Yeah. I was telling how I love watching things combust in midair.
Oh my!
But
I feel safe.
Hey, did you know there's a gasoline tank behind?
Oh my! So anyway,
and it combusts and it's reborn from its ashes, quite literally. That is a really, really cool concept. If you think about it is. Yeah. There's a bird there that's a mythical creature, and it goes around and it does whatever it wants to do, and then boom, it just dies. And it's like, whoa, where did it go? It's like, hey, I'm back here, guys.
So, kind of a funny parallel that I just realized. I've never seen this show, except for like one episode, but I know you love it. So, Doctor Who.
All right.
If you think about it, it's a lot like that.
Yeah, it is
because
like
it's
Who.
the same creature. The Phoenix.
The Doctor.
It's basically. Well, the Doctor, is... I don't think you could consider him immortal. Just very, very long-lived.
You can't consider him immortal because it's only by law, Time Lord law, you're allowed to have 13 lives, but by biological law, they can live as long... By biology, they can live as long as they want.
So, maybe. So, but, like, if you think about something like the Phoenix, it's really just... It reaches the end of its life cycle, and then it starts over again. So, it's really the same creature the entire time. It just regenerates, if you will.
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing. Now that you bring that up, there's a lot of... I don't know if you ever played Age of Mythology?
I've not.
Well, in that game, if you got the Phoenix and you were an Egyptian, because you couldn't get the Phoenix as a Greek, which really sucked. But if you got...
Age of Mythology, it's like the Age of Empires games. Yeah. But with
mythology.
Mythological creatures and stuff.
Yeah, you were able to be the Greeks, the Atlanteans, the Egyptians, or the Norwegians, which Norwegians had a lot of cool giants. And if you played your cards right, you got a normal giant, an ice giant, and a fire giant. And you just like go and destroy everything. And then you could summon your titans.
Cool.
But the thing about that is, I think that the Phoenix has a lot of symbology of fire that people don't understand. When you think about fire, what is the first thing you think about?
Change.
Okay, that's a lot more than what other people. People, when they think about fire, they'll think about firemen burning, people dying.
Oh my!
Often,
yeah, I guess that actually. Well, I was thinking the reason I said that was not because I was thinking of fire as like a destructive force, which obviously it is. But
most people think about it like that.
When you said fire, I imagined what fire really is.
Exactly.
Which is just an expression of a chemical change. In a sense.
Well, that's not romantic in any way.
No, it's not romantic. It's really boring. And I wonder why I have trouble getting a girlfriend. But I don't know. I can see beauty in that, right? Like, so
there is
you
beauty
have
because it becomes its own fertilizer, sort of.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and especially when you think of the kinds of like plants and stuff that only grow after being exposed to fire. That's some powerful symbolism in nature, I think.
I think that fire has a lot more of a healing property than most people know. I mean, when you think about spiritual stuff, you often... Let's go to Avatar for a second.
Yes.
You often think that water is the only healing type, and you don't see earth or air as any type of healing type. But
in the last couple of
episodes, you saw that fire had a healing type.
Yeah.
And fire healed, at least diagnosed Korra. And this person was obviously able to use fire as a healing mechanism.
Hers was it seemed like kind of a neural /